All right, hello and welcome to the kickoff of the channel here. In this channel, I'm just going to be sharing a variety of topics, really whatever strikes my fancy from the news. So it could be something about, in this case, a Supreme Court ruling that pertains to any kind of First Amendment rights or a Bill of Rights. In this case, it's Fourth Amendment, or other videos. I'll cover things related to pop culture, could be a variety of topics. So you'll get a feel for the channel as you watch the videos and see, what I'm discussing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So today's video is a recent ruling from the Supreme Court of the United States, and this video that we're getting ready to watch is from Armed Scholar. So I highly encourage you to watch and subscribe to Armed Scholar. Channels like this are very important, and it's important that you subscribe to them and get your information from them as well. I'm gonna highlight particular videos from him, but definitely great if you could go out and, as Casper Sight would say, like, subscribe, and do the thing. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
So the Supreme Court's unanimous decision, which found that the warrantless entry of a home and the seizure of firearms is a violation of the Fourth Amendment, has now resulted in a settlement agreement. So let's talk about this. So like I said in the intro, in this video, I want to talk about the CANIGLIA v. STROM case, which resulted in a unanimous Supreme Court decision last year. That unanimous decision by the Supreme Court has now led to a settlement agreement in favor of Mr. CANIGLIA. One night during an argument with his wife, Mr. CANIGLIA got out a handgun and put it on his dining room table and essentially stated to his wife, "Why don't you just shoot me right now? Why don't you get it over with?" His wife then subsequently decided to leave the house and decided to spend the night at a hotel.
Okay, important thing to note here, he didn't threaten his wife, all right? He didn't threaten his wife with a gun. He didn't, wasn't considered brandishing. He just got the gun out. It was on the table, and he was obviously in a bad state, not wanting to have this argument, probably an argument that's been had several times, because he seemed to want to end this conflict, almost as saying, put me out of my misery, all right? I'm tired of arguing with you about this, or just arguing with you in general. Just end this for me, okay? But not a threat against his wife.
The next morning when she woke up, she tried to reach her husband. She tried to call him, but she actually couldn't reach him. So she decided to call the police and request a welfare check.
Big mistake.
Soon after that, the wife and the police actually went to the house and met Mr. CANIGLIA at the house on the porch, where he actually denied being suicidal. Despite the statements from Mr. CANIGLIA, the police thought he did pose a risk to himself, so they called for an ambulance, and he was then sent to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation.
Okay, on that note, I'm a little torn on this, but here's the thing. Like, I know the police deal with a lot of people who have mental health problems, and so this is something that they deal with daily, and they have to make this judgment call. And I like to give them the benefit of the doubt on most cases. In this case, I think if it had just stopped at them saying, okay, well, let's have him go to the hospital and just get checked out and have someone professional do an evaluation, I think that would have been appropriate. But that's not what happened. It escalated from there, and you're going to find out what happened.
During this interaction, the police did promise Mr. CANIGLIA that they wouldn't confiscate his firearms, and Mr. CANIGLIA actually said that he did not want them to take the firearms. However, once the ambulance left the house, the police did decide to seize all of Mr. CANIGLIA's weapons. According to his wife, the police officers actually lied to her and told her that Mr. CANIGLIA actually wished that the police would actually take the weapons from the home. So the police told her that he said that he actually wanted the police to take the firearm.
All right, so lying to people is something that the police unfortunately make a habit out of. And I understand that they're able to mislead people, especially when they're questioning them, in terms of, interrogating them. But these are people that they've taken into custody, people who are suspects, and they're allowed to mislead them and allow, in order to get those people to admit to something, or to reveal something, they're allowed to use deception and basically any kind of trickery. It seems like what's happening here is very egregious, right? And you'll find out. Well, I mean, you just heard that like the police just lied to the wife. The husband clearly stated, "Don't take my guns. Don't go in my house. Don't take my guns." And so what did they do? They go to the wife instead and say, "Oh no, he said he wants us to take the weapons, and you got to show us where they are." So that's how they gained entry to the house and located the firearms, which were all put away by that time. That's definitely, part of the issue, part of the problem here, part of what happened that basically was at dispute. And and you'll find out how that turned out.
Apparently, then the police told the wife that they needed her to show where the firearms were, so she actually let them in the home without a warrant and showed them where all the firearms were, and they actually took them.
So it's just real simple. Don't do that, right? He's already going to the hospital. Let the professionals do the evaluation first, and then you can take this step. If the professionals deem him that he's a harm to himself, he's probably going to be committed somewhere anyways. He's not going to be released to go back home.
Some of the important facts and background surrounding this case. Now let's take a look at some of the important legal background that surrounded the Supreme Court's decision in this case. In 1973, the Supreme Court decided a case called Katie v. Dombrowski. In that case, the Supreme Court held that police officers had not violated the Fourth Amendment by searching without a warrant the truck of the car that they had towed after an accident for a firearm because it was part of the officer's community caretaking function.
I disagree with that ruling, but, that's just me, right? This is part of the reason why, I'm at least happy that I live in Texas, okay? So in Texas, your car is recognized as an extension of your home. You can't just search through other people's stuff. It's like if I found, something on the side of the road and just decided I was going to just start searching through it when let's say, it's a briefcase and the name and the phone number of the person who it belongs to are clearly on the outside of the case. If lost, please call this number. And instead of doing that, I open it up, I search through all the documents, maybe I take some of the stuff and seize it for my use or because I don't think this person should have that. That's basically what the police are doing here.
A warrantless search of an automobile could therefore be constitutional, but Katie was largely based on the difference between automobiles and a home. However, in this case, Caniglia, the First Circuit Court of Appeals held that the community caretaking exception to the warrant requirement could also apply beyond vehicles, and it could apply to home searches as well. Therefore, they found that the police could enter the home and seize Mr. Caniglia's firearms without a warrant under the community caretaking exception. This case eventually made its way up to the Supreme Court, and
yeah, guess what? The Supreme Court didn't believe this.
Last year in May, the Supreme Court issued a rare unanimous decision
Unanimous
in favor of Mr. Caniglia. The majority opinion was written by the great Clarence Thomas, and Justice Thomas stated in his opinion that the Fourth Amendment protects the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures.
I mean, that says it all right there. I don't know what else you need to say, right? The Fourth Amendment, the wording of the Fourth Amendment covers this. It specifically covers this. These officers, don't even get me started. No.
The very core of this guarantee is the right of a man to retreat into his own home and there be free from unreasonable governmental intrusion.
In other words, you should be able to go in your house and be left the F alone. All right? If I choose to go into my house and close the door and I'm by myself and not bothering anyone, then the police, having no probable cause, should not just be able to come up to my door and demand entry and then start nosing around and looking for stuff. Because trust me, there are so many laws on the books now that everybody is probably committing at least one crime a day. And as a result, if police just were able to go to your house and randomly search for stuff, they would find something that you're technically doing illegal and then be able to harass you for it. That's not why the laws exist. The laws don't exist to harass people who are trying to follow the law and maybe not achieving it 100%. They basically exist so that people who are intentionally trying to break the law are able to be brought to justice. But unfortunately, there's way too many laws now. Nobody can know all the laws. There's literally just, they take up, if you look at the United States Code, right? It looks like the encyclopedia, set, basically, when you start trying to read that, if you were to have a printed copy. That's part of the problem with having too many laws. So that's kind of another thing, but that's a part of the reason why this exists. People should be free from harassment by the government, unless they are attempting to harm others. Like, for me, a big part of it is just mind your own effing business, all right? And if someone is not harming another individual, mind your own business. And in this case, this man was actually not harming anyone, and he was deemed to be not a threat to others. And the police, I again appreciate the situation they're in, and I understand they said, let's send him to a hospital for professional evaluation because we're not experts. I'm okay with that. But the issue is they didn't wait for that evaluation to be finished and then say, okay, well, as a result, maybe this guy shouldn't have his weapons if the assessment came back that he was unstable and he was a danger to himself and a danger to others. And that would have to be an imminent danger, in my opinion.
Justice Thomas therefore found in his decision, what is reasonable for vehicles is different from what is reasonable for homes. Katie acknowledged as much, and this course has repeatedly declined to expand the scope of exceptions to the warrant requirement to permit warrantless entry into the home.
So I think that's an important distinction that the Supreme Court's making here. They're saying, look, there is a difference between, at least in this case, between the home and the car, right? Important distinction here is that at least Clarence Thomas is saying you cannot, well, actually it was unanimous. So everybody was agreeing with this decision that there is a difference between the way this decision applies to cars, this Katie v. Dombrowski. So this ruling was basically a special ruling that pertained to vehicles only. That's what they're saying. I think that's really where we got to get to it. That this ruling, Katie v. Dombrowski, only applies to vehicle, and it can't be expanded to cover other things, because if you're going to expand it to cover, in this case, a home, that is in direct conflict with the Fourth Amendment then. And the reason why they've made that ruling in the first place is because it was a little unclear whether the Fourth Amendment applied there. That's why they made that ruling. But now they're making it clear that, hey, the Fourth Amendment still applies to the house. Katie v. Dombrowski does not. It applies to cars and cars only.
Based on this concept of distinctions between the home and vehicles, the Supreme Court unanimously found the warrantless entry and seizure of his firearms was unconstitutional.
Okay, he's going to talk about red flag laws. I don't want to get into that here. Obviously, that's a discussion unto itself, I think. And, I think that's a whole nother video. But you could see that this is an important ruling. Basically, he's going to talk about how that they covered the Supreme Court. One of the justices, I think it was Justice Alito, specifically said, hey, this doesn't pertain to red flag laws. But then the follow-up to this, and I'll just give the highlights, is this may lay a framework for red flag laws in the future. And when they are challenged, which they will be, this is going to be one of those things that is probably going to be used, this framework that was set up via this CANIGLIA case. All right. So fortunately, there was a happy resolution here. This case got kicked back down to lower court, and the lower court and the locale where it happened, they basically came to an agreement. They settled with this particular individual, and they covered or agreed to at least share court costs, because this is obviously very expensive to take a case all the way to the Supreme Court. And it's just a win for gun owners and a reinforcement of and clarification of gun rights. So an important case for gun owners in the United States. So I hope you really liked me covering this. And again, this is Anthony Miranda of Armed Scholar. You should definitely go and follow him and give him a like and subscribe on this video. I'm not going to cover every single one of his videos, which is why it's important that you go and subscribe to his channel. But I will highlight some of those things, as I will highlight many content creators on this channel that I follow. Anytime one of their stories piques my interest, and I think it needs to be maybe, have some commentary and discussed further. So tell me, what do you think about anything in this video? What are your opinions on the things that I discuss? What are your opinions on whether or not your car is an extension of your home, or were the police okay? Were they right? What do you think? Do you think that they were right to go about this? I mean, I think it was, a basically low down, dirty way to go about taking a guy's guns when they weren't even sure that he was a threat to anyone. And I'm glad that the Supreme Court said you can't do that and gave them a smack on the hand. Make a comment. Let me know what you think. Hope you like the content. Brand new channel, so hope you're enjoying this first episode. Give me a like and subscribe if you want to see more. Have a great day.